Hello everyone, it's Lisa from Epic Yarn Gems. Today I'm going to be showing you how to add a crochet ribbing to the bottom of a hat. Typically I like to do my hats top down, and when I do the ribbing I typically do a front post, back post double crochet to make that ribbing on the bottom. But I'm going to show you another technique that I have recently learned, and I did see this on TL Yarn Crafts. I will put a link to her page down below, but I took a look at that and thought, wow, what a great thing to know how to do. So I'm going to share that with you as well. Recently, I made a Kobe tribute hat, and I wanted it to be more of a slouch hat, so I wanted to add a band on the bottom of it. So I also wanted it to be a little snugger so that it would fit on my head better. So what I did is I added this ribbing like you would typically do if you're doing a bottom up hat, but I did it at the end. I did this a little differently than some of the other ribbings or the bands that I saw. I wanted it to look more like I would do a ribbing at the end or the beginning of a hat. So I did do a couple little things differently. So I'd like to get started with this. And I have a hat that I had almost done, and it needed the bottom. You could just finish it any way you wanted, but I thought I would add this ribbing. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to finish off your last row, in this case with a slip stitch join, and then you are going to chain however many you want to make the length of your band. What I did is I chained 6, and then I turned my work a little bit so that I was working sideways, and I'm going to go into the second chain from the end, and I am going to do a single crochet in each of those chains. So when I get to the bottom, I am going to have a total of 5 single crochets, and that's kind of where this magic comes in, that makes it able for you to attach it to the hat looking like it had always been there, and it's another great option for the band going around the bottom of the hat. So here we are at the bottom, and the next 2 stitches are what we're going to use. We are going to go under the V, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull through those 2 loops that are on your hook. And what we're doing here is we're actually decreasing a little bit by pulling those 2 stitches together, and also attaching it to the bottom of the hat. So we're going to skip that first stitch. That was the slip stitch of the 2 combined. So there is that stitch, and now we're just going to go back to what we were doing before. We are going to do a straight single crochet in the first stitch, followed by back loop single crochets in the next 3, and then at the end we will do a straight single crochet with a chain 1 and starting all over again. I just thought that this was the coolest thing, to be able to add a ribbing at the bottom of the hat. I actually looked at this quite a while ago for some different patterns on Pinterest and also on YouTube, and as I was looking at it and I tried it, I just could not get it to work. But once I slowed it down a little bit, and I have been crocheting a little bit longer now, it totally made sense to me. And this is the way that if I were starting a beanie from the bottom up, I would do my ribbing with the straight single crochets on the both ends and the back loop onlys in the middle. So when I took a look at this, I'm like, I want it to look like I would normally do it if I were starting from the bottom. So this was the closest that I could get to how it looked, and I think it turned out pretty good. As you're finishing up your last row and your first row, there shouldn't be a large gap between the two. So once you get as close as you can with that last row to your first row, you're going to want to join the 2 ends together. So as we finish up this last row here, and the gap is pretty small between the beginning and the end, you are going to turn your hat inside out. This is how I do it so that the seam isn't as noticeable. And then you're just going to join the beginning row to the end row. What I do is I just line them up and put my crochet hook through the stitch on one side, through the stitch on the other side, and do a slip stitch. There are many different ways that you can do your joins. You can do a mattress stitch, you can do a slip stitch, you can do them with single crochets. Do whatever works best for you. And as we finish up the hat, this is one of my newer patterns that I will be doing a tutorial on here shortly. I'm planning to do a couple of videos and tutorials of hats that you could use for the Hat Not Hate, and I will be doing them in blue. Thanks again for joining me. Please share out this video and don't forget to subscribe to Epic Yarn Gems, turning on notifications so you know when I post new videos. And if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me some comments. As always, peace, love, and happiness to you all.